Good evening. Welcome to Love Talk. My name is Gregory Morgan. Thank you for joining me. Learning to create romantic relationships that last a lifetime. Now, you don't know how to do that. I never knew how to do that. Most people don't know how to do that. For most people, romantic relationship is something that they kind of fall into because they're attracted to someone. The reasons that they're attracted to them are unknown even to the person who is attracted. And so they end up marrying, jumping several stages. They go, I like you, let's get married. I'm attracted to you. We have a chemical reaction with each other. I like you, you like me. Let's get married. And that is probably the worst reason that you could get married. Absolutely the worst reason that I can think of. I can think of a few others that are worse, like you get married because your parents made you or selected a husband or wife for you while you were still a child. That's pretty bad. And I know that there's a lot of people watching that that's happened with. So the 12 stages is not about that. The 12 stages is basically addressed to people who do have a freedom of choice, the freedom and the liberty to actually create mindfully, consciously, willfully, willingly, to create romance in their life, a romantic relationship. You can create romance in your life, but by yourself, it's not very good. Create a romantic relationship with another human being that is a pathway to self-discovery. I'm going to say that again. Romantic relationship as a pathway to self-discovery, self-development, self-fulfillment, self-expression, vitality, well-being. Now, does it mean that no bad things ever come up in your relationship? Heck no. On the contrary, lots of bad things come up in your relationships. The 12 stages of romantic relationship is about anticipating and preparing for those challenges, even though you could never possibly do that. How you get ready for marriage is to get married. Nothing can prepare you for it. However, you can be prepared in knowing that romantic relationship is mostly a fantasy type relationship when you simply fall into it. It means you're powerless. You've given your power away. I fell in love. It means you've given your personal volition and power away, and you've put yourself into a more or less victim position, like it just happened to me, I couldn't help it. Relationships that just happened to you, you couldn't help it, are a perfect setup for that relationship, whatever caused it, since you don't know what caused it, and you have no choices over it. When those things go away, when those things disappear, and I can tell you this from living long enough, that no matter what you do, things will change, okay? No matter what you plan on, no matter what you create, no matter what you voluntarily and with all your consciousness and awareness put your attention on, it will change. Nonetheless, it will change. Nothing stays the same except things like diamonds, and even those things are changing. I'm talking about in the realm of relationship, things change all the time because human being, ing at the end of a word, means a process. Ing, okay? Doing, being, right? Having, it means you are in the process of something. Okay, so a human being is a process of self-discovery. We don't know what all is possible for human beings, do we? We don't actually know everything that's possible for human beings. Human beings have hidden treasures, hidden potentialities, hidden abilities that we haven't even explored yet. We think, oh, this is it. We're at the height of evolution. No, we're not. No, we're not. We don't even know what's possible in consciousness. We don't know what's even physically possible. World records are broken every day in sports. World records are constantly being pushed beyond their limits. Technology is constantly pushing human ability to communicate, to know things, to have information, to make decisions. That's the limits of that are being pushed every day. And since we're speaking about limits, I'll talk about the limits of what you believe is possible, okay? Because that will determine the outcome of your life. So I'm going to come back to that subject in a minute, because what you believe is possible creates boundary conditions, creates the conditioning for the life that you get to have inside of that context. Now, context is something that holds everything together, and context is decisive. A shift in context will change the entire process of your life. It'll change the entire perspective. In other words, how you see your life and how you see yourself as a part of it, and how you see yourself in relationship to everything and everyone in it. Your perception, in other words. And therefore will determine who you will be, the process of your beingness. So context is decisive. How you contextualize or how you hold your life will decide the outcome of your life, literally. It'll even determine things like how long you will live, how healthy you will be, certainly how happy you will be and how fulfilled you will be, how successful you will be, how loved you will be, your capacity to love and relate to others and have compassion and forgiveness and self-fulfillment and artistic expression and creativity. All of those things are processes who find their source, their energetic source, in who you're being. And if who you're being is limited by the context or the belief system and the value system in which your life is held, then those are boundary conditions, and it will not go outside of that unless and until you do certain processes that we at Embrace Growth happen to be experts at. We happen to be experts at producing processes and environments in which it is predictable and almost certain that you will have an expanded awareness experience of yourself, an expanded consciousness of who you are in your life and your relationships, such that you will go and handle whatever is out of order in your life. You will become empowered in your life, and you will be your own best teacher when it comes to mastering your own life. That's a little bit about what we do about Embrace Growth, and I got a little bit off track from describing the 12 stages versus the 12 steps. 12 stages of romantic relationship is simply about creating stages. Now, I didn't make the stages up. I just discovered that they were there, and that's the first thing I say at the beginning of the CDs is that, we say that Columbus discovered America. No, he didn't. It was already here. There were already people living here years and years and centuries before they ever even discovered ships over in Europe. Once I discovered these and began to distinguish and define them, then I was able to communicate about those. And so I highly recommend, if you are, no matter where you're at in your relationships, if you may have a wonderful relationship that you love having and it's going great, the 12 stages of romantic relationship will expand your ability to create ongoingly loving, empowering relationships for the rest of your life, lasting a lifetime, regardless of where you are in the relationship. There's realms of possibility that you contain. They're not mine. They're not anybody's. They belong to everyone, just like the air. There's no your air and my air. There's just air, okay? And we can all breathe it. However, but in the realm of relationships, all that is possible is available to you, okay? All that's possible is available to you. And the purpose of this show, the radio shows, Doña Ayesh, my wife's television shows, the free seminars that we give, all of those are in order to give you free access to something that you already have a right to know. And that is, what's stopping you in your relationships? What's causing you pain? What's causing other people pain because they're related to you? How do you have ongoingly access to more freedom? More choices, greater possibilities for expanding your awareness, your consciousness, and your abilities in relating with others, such that they're left empowered, you're left empowered, and you begin to master having relationships. And how you know you've mastered something is that you can freely share it, you can articulate it, you can distinguish it. You know when something is there and when it's not. You don't have your realities confused or mushed together into some kind of emotional soup. You're able to stand back from the challenges that you have in your relationships, specifically speaking about that right now, and stand back and say, okay, this is this and this is that, and so what is my place in that? And so in simply having the distinctions that allow you to move forward, okay, in a way that continues to empower you. A lot of people come to us, and especially because there's a lot of psychology shows. My wife's one of them. There's many types of psychology shows these days, and so people have become more or less what I call we call armchair psychologists, meaning they sit at home in their armchair. They don't really go to study psychology or know anything about psychology except what they've seen on television or heard on radios, and maybe they've read a book or two that were written by psychologists. So now they consider themselves to be qualified to make psychological analysis of themselves and others. And so I'm sorry, but there's something kind of funny about that, especially when you take into consideration that the entire premise of psychology is that something in the past determines who I am right now and therefore who I will be in the future. So any problem that I have, any issue or problem that I have, is a result of something that, listen carefully, happened to me in the past. So happened to me is a victim position. In the world of cause and effect, we live in a cause and effect universe. I think there's pretty irrefutable proof that there's cause and effect. Now, I said irrefutable, however, it is being refuted many, many times, both spiritually and on a quantum physics level, okay? Because when you start really searching for cause and effect, what you come up with is a paradox. What you come up with is something that does not follow logic, okay? It does not follow logic, and the logic, of course, is that there's a cause and then there's effect. This happened and it made that happen, right? And so if you want to find out why this is happening and keeps happening, where should you look at? In the past to find out what caused it. That just totally makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah. What if you found out, as certain Buddhist texts teach, specifically the Lotus Sutra, talks about the simultaneity, meaning the simultaneous occurrence of cause and effect, that they are inseparable, like both sides of your hand. Cause, effect, cause, effect. You can't have one without the other. So what if, in the world of cause and effect, as you drill down into it, you only have cause? Ultimately, there's just cause, and this is what they're speaking about in the Tibetan texts of the Lotus Sutra, which I spent about 10 years with, is that there's only cause, 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 and that all the rest of it is effect. Everything that you are experiencing, everything that you're experiencing in your life is an effect of a cause. What cause? The cause that you're causing. Because who's it happening to? You. Who's experiencing it? You. You see, the causes that you set in motion from one second to the next are producing the events that you are experiencing from one second to the next. You are constantly at cause. That's why I was speaking earlier in the show. I said, human being is a being process. It is a process of causing and experiencing simultaneity, simultaneous cause and effect. Now, how does this apply to you and your relationships? How does this apply to you and your life? Well, it is your life. Because whose life is it? Who's experiencing your life? And who's causing your life? Because if you think somebody else is, then you are having an inauthentic relationship with reality. You're having an inauthentic relationship with reality, that's all. It's not bad or wrong, it's just not very effective. See, if you're not able to distinguish what's causing the life that you have right now, then you will be powerless to cause it to be different. You'll be powerless when it comes to making something happen because, okay, you will not be being cause. In fact, when we use this word because, we are always referring to a cause other than ourselves. We say because. Circumstances caused this. Relationships caused this. My mother caused this. My schoolmates caused me to be like this, and therefore I did that, and that's why my life looks like it does, right? So as we began searching back in time to find out the cause of why your life is a mess, or your relationships don't work, or your finances are failing, or your health is no good, then you began to, if you're looking in the past, you will find some interesting information. However, you won't find the cause. Because the cause is always right now. You are always being the cause of your experience of life. How do you get a hold of that? Because every second of your life is passing so fast, and it's there it went again, there it went again, there it went again. Now is happening all the time, and it's over as soon as you experience it. That moment is gone forever as soon as you experience it. Now, I know you can take pictures of it or you can video it, but then now the only time that you will be able to see those videos or pictures will be in a now moment, some other now moment, not now. It's interesting that the fact that everybody has a telephone now that has almost everybody anyhow, has a camera on it that can take videos and photos, the past and present have come together very quickly, haven't they? And so we currently have a very different sense of time and space. We have a very different sense of history. We have a very different sense of our place, that is, who we're being in time and space and in relation to other people. My wife and I travel a lot, and very often she'll be in a seminar room with 200 people, and I will be and it'll be nighttime, and there'll be 200 people in a room, raising their hands and interacting with her on stage, and somebody will send me a photo of that, and at that moment I will be alone on a mountain road riding a motorcycle in broad daylight in the sunny day, and it just strikes me that time and space, is just like this. At this time, because of the technology that we have available. That's just a sort of side note, but it gives me a different way of relating. You see, it gives me a different way of being in relationship to the people in that room, even though I'm not there. Part of what I teach is happening, you see? So it's pretty interesting. Relationship happens on several levels, and the first and foremost is your relationship with yourself. I've been talking about this from the beginning of the show. Who are you being? What are you conscious of when you are alone, when you're just getting dressed or tying your shoes or having a shower or driving in your car? Do you like that person? Is that somebody that you would want as a friend? Is that person good company? Is that someone who you respect and admire and you would look up to if you met someone like you, the one tying your shoes, the one being in your clothes right now? Okay? Do you like that person? Can you look them in the eye in the mirror and say, I really love you and I respect you. You're doing a good job of being you. Thank you for all that you've done to make this life awesome, to make this a great life. Do you have that kind of a relationship with yourself? If you do not, if you do, congratulations, awesome, you're on the right track. We can go to the next level now. If you do not have a good relationship with yourself, what do you think your first priority should be? Because it's not to go out and get a relationship with someone so that you can feel better about yourself. That's the last thing you should do. The first thing that you should do if you don't feel good about yourself is to sit down and really have a good conversation with yourself. Like, what do you need? Do you need to reach out to a coach or to a therapist or somebody and get some help? Okay. As long as it's a sincere reaching out, like, I've run up against a wall, or I've reached a barrier, I've reached a boundary condition in my thinking, I've reached a place where I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. Teach me. And in those situations, what is going to be the most beneficial to you is to humbly ask for help and humbly accept that help. And even, probably, I would say, even if, especially, if that help sounds like something that you would have never thought of, that is beyond your current understanding, that's probably where you need to be looking. You see, inside of your boundary conditions, there's no solution to your problem, because if there was, you would have found it already, right? No. Inside the boundary conditions of your thinking, the only solutions that you've ever come up with have given you more problems. So when you ask for help, when you ask for coaching, when you ask for support, don't ask somebody that's got the same problems as you. Don't ask a peer who is struggling with the same types of stuff that you're struggling with. Ask somebody for whom that issue is not an issue anymore, because they mastered it a long time ago. Ask somebody who is actually qualified to take you beyond the boundary conditions of your thinking. And not everybody is qualified to do that. You know, there's a lot of people that think outside of the boundary conditions of your thinking, and mine as well, you see. But that doesn't mean they're qualified to coach me, right? There's a lot of people that are way more intelligent than me and way more educated or whatever, right? Have more experience than me. And yet it doesn't mean they're good coaches. Doesn't mean that they're qualified to help me have a breakthrough, you see. However, they could be not so qualified. And if I'm completely humble and completely asking with open heart and sincerity, no ego, and approaching this like, I don't know what to do, what do you see? Just tell me what you see. Then you take that information, you try it on, you see if it fits. You see if maybe something goes clunk and falls into place for you, you see? And if it does, use it. Take it and use it, you see? That's what a coach is for. That's what a psychologist is for. That's what a therapist is for, is to give you a piece that you may be missing in your own puzzle so that you get a better picture of what your life could be. I'm not going to say should be, but is possible for your life, you see. To spend years and thousands of dollars and, weekly sessions of, drilling down deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into your past and all the screwed up stuff that's happened to you and all the screwed up things that happened to your parents and your brothers and your sisters and your culture and your religion and your society, and drilling down, what that does is it brings up all the sludge of the past, which is better, as far as I'm concerned, to leave in the past. It's already over. It happened. It's done. So what? Okay? Why are you carrying it around as if you're, permanently wounded? You're not wounded. You may not like something so much that you feel like you're wounded, but basically you're functioning. And if you're functioning well enough to take a full assessment of where you are right now and where you would like to be, and then there'll be a gap. There'll be a gap. There's where I am, there's where I'd like to be, and maybe I don't know how to get there. That's when you can humbly and correctly ask for help, ask for coaching, and have a place to receive it, try it on, see if it's going to get you where you want to go, and take it from there. But if you go and buy a sewing machine, I don't know why you would, but if you went and buy, I don't know why it popped into my mind. If you went and bought a sewing machine, whose responsibility is it to get value out of that sewing machine? Let's take something less complex, because most people can't operate a sewing machine. It's one of the things that I happen to know how to operate, but I'm surprised that a lot of people don't. If you buy a hammer, whose responsibility is it to get use and value out of that hammer? That would be you, right? If you go get a coaching session, whose responsibility is it to get value out of that? If you go and take a workshop, whose responsibility is it to get value out of that workshop? And so if you ask a mentor a question and they give you an answer that maybe doesn't fit your reality, whose responsibility is it to get value out of that, you see? It's always going to come back to you. It's your responsibility, because it's your life. You're the one seeking value. You're the one who's reached out to get more value in your life, and so it'll always be your responsibility. So relationships begin with your relationship to yourself. And if your relationship to yourself is I'm a victim and poor me, then the only kind of people that you will see in your environment. Remember I said earlier that context creates your reality? The context of your life, the boundary conditions of your life, the bowl, if you will, that your life is held in will give you the shape of your life. The vase, if you will, that you hold this liquid fluid beingness called your life is shaped by what you're holding it in. And if you're holding it in a belief system that is limited, then your life will be limited. So your life belongs to you. Your first job, duty, obligation when you want to have a relationship or a life that works is to have a powerful and empowering relationship with yourself. So your first relationship is to yourself, and when you are good with yourself, when you actually have some love and respect and empowering outlook on life with yourself, then and only then should you have a relationship with another human being. And obviously you have relationships with other human beings all your life, but I'm talking about a romantic relationship in which there is a romantic relationship usually involves kissing, hugging, sex of some kind, sexual exchange of sexual energy, if not actual intercourse, but an exchange of masculine and feminine energy, okay, in a romantic relationship. And so a romantic relationship, I said masculine and feminine energy, I didn't see a man and a woman. It could be between two men and two women. But for the purposes of this conversation, we're going to say a man and a woman, okay? Because no matter what sex you are, you have both masculine energy and feminine energy. And, you know, these days, I have noticed that men have become more and more feminine, and women have become more and more masculine as the roles have shifted, and the dependency for survival, and that means food, clothing, shelter, money, all that stuff, as that has shifted from, you know, being dependent upon size and strength, dependent upon the ability to perform violence in order to have food and clothing and shelter, that is shifted. Now it is more about what can you provide that has value to others. Okay, what can you do that provides value for the most number of people, and that's how people get paid, and that's how they support themselves, and therefore that is a competitive field. And so when everybody is working, whether you're a man or a woman, whether you're a masculine man or a feminine man, or a masculine woman or a feminine woman, regardless of where you are in that, when you're at work, you're masculine because you're doing a masculine activity called compete, win, intervene, and, you know, bring home provisions, okay, and protection. So that is a masculine activity, and so consequently, more and more women are taking on the masculine activity of working and having careers and providing for their families and their children, and more men are staying boys, really, into their late 40s and 50s. They stay in a boyish attitude, dependent upon a woman, whether it's their mother, their family, or, you know, women in general, or their wife. They're more or less dependent upon those women to, sounds funny to say, but pretty much tell them what to do, how to be, how to behave, how to dress. They're constantly seeking the company of women in order to feel more comfortable, rather than seeking the company of men, which might be more challenging or more confrontational. So as more and more women become more and more masculine, and more men become more and more feminine, we have a disbalance between the masculine and the feminine. And so when I speak about relationships, I'm speaking about masculine energy and feminine energy, and balancing those two within a relationship, regardless of your gender, okay? So please don't listen to me like I'm talking about men, and men should be like this and women should be like this. I don't care. I just care about who's the masculine one in the relationship, who's the feminine one, and can you guys balance each other out? So until you have come to balance it within yourself with your own masculine and feminine energy, don't take on having a romantic relationship with the opposite sex, because I can tell you something, you will, you'll end up either apart. If you seek therapy, you'll end up in therapy or a workshop or something like that. And if you don't, you'll end up in a divorce court or at least you'll have what we call, very common in the Persian community, an in-house divorce. That's where two people live together, and for outside the house, they appear to be married, but inside the house, behind closed doors, there's literally a divorce. They no longer live as husband and wife, but as roommates. There's not any romantic relationship that's in there anymore. So your first relationship is with yourself. Your next relationship is with one other person that you have a monogamous romantic relationship with. And then and only then can you begin to address your relationship with a family or a group. Now, a lot of people want to skip right to family and group, and a lot of people in their relationships, they never have a personal relationship that is superior to their family relationship. In fact, that gets backwards all the time. In the Persian culture, it's very common that the person remains married, means absolutely devoted to their family, and then they marry another person who is outside the family and attempt to bring them into the family. Now, I understand that thinking. I understand that. It causes certain issues. Some of them get worked out and some of them don't. My advice is always, if you're an adult, first of all, don't get married unless you are. And you're not an adult until you're at least 27 years old, okay? Your brain hasn't even finished formulating until you're 26, 27 years old. Your nervous system isn't even a fully mature nervous system. I know you're capable of having children, and I know that in ancient times, people used to have children at very, very early age and used to marry at an early age. However, that is not necessary. And I don't think it's very even desirable, honestly. Statistics show that the largest group that has successful long-term marriages are the following group. Both people are at least 27 or more, 27 years old or more, and both people have had some kind of higher education. In other words, they went to junior college at least, something like that, some kind of education, and are at least 27 or more. And in that group of people, those people have the highest success rate in terms of long-term committed relationships that last a whole lifetime. That's the lowest divorce rate group, okay? So I think don't even take on having a romantic relationship or a married relationship until you're at least an adult, and then you should put your mate first, above your family. And that's where a lot of people have a struggle. A lot of people have a problem with that. And that keeps them as children. That keeps you as a child in your own mind, and it puts a filter between two people where there should be no filter whatsoever. There should be no filter. There should be like a complete, open, transparent, heart-to-heart connection without any other relationships interfering with it. Other relationships come second, not first. So again, your relationship with yourself is primary, your relationship with one mate is secondary, and your relationship with your family comes later, comes after that. You and your mate decide how you're going to relate together as one with your various families. And so then and only then will you have a chance of having balance. Otherwise, you will have a random, capricious, and very often mischievous and malicious interference between these two people, which will cause a divorce or cause tension or cause upset or pain, and again, lead to an in-house divorce or a literal divorce. After you have mastered and fulfilled your relationship with your family or group, a family or a group, a family is a group, okay? It's a very close group, but it's a group, okay? Then and only then can you actually begin to expand outside of that to other groups. In other words, the group at work or the group at your church or temple or religious gathering, or maybe a group of people that you've done seminars and workshops with. There's large groups of people around the world that have done embrace growth workshops, and completely spontaneously and naturally, I say, without much prompting from us, they have formed groups around the world. There's groups, embrace growth groups, in about, I think it's 37 different cities in about a dozen different countries that meet together, that share their experiences together. Why? Because they've had an unusual experience that most people will never have. It's caused them to have an expanded awareness of who they are and their ability to love and have compassion. And what do they want? The most natural thing in the world is to be with people like that, be with people who they could share that experience with, not just the people in their life who maybe may never go to those seminars or workshops or experience those things. So it's important that they have somebody else who at least they have this common bond, because something is happening in those workshops that is not happening out there. It's not happening out in the world. It's a highly specialized and very, I don't want to make it sound religious, but I would say sacred space. By sacred, I mean scarce, I mean private, I mean uplifting, I mean precious, like rarefied air. It's a special environment. And the work that we do in those workshops can't just happen anywhere. You can't do it in a restaurant or a park. You can't do it, just any place. It has to be in a very special environment that we create with our assistants, so that the person is safe to experience those things that maybe have been a barrier to them in their life, that may have stopped them, a place where they didn't feel safe and now they feel safe, an environment in which they know that what happens there will stay there. So it takes something to create that environment, and then to guide people through processes of consciousness and awareness so that they come to their own awakening. So that you can come to your own awakening. And so it's only natural those people would gather together in groups and create communities of higher education, create communities. And what's a community? A community's got people in it that you like, people that you don't like, people that you're interested in, people that you're not so interested in. It's got a whole bunch of everything, right? A community, in order to be a community, has to have a little bit of everything in it. So we have begun to create communities, embrace growth communities, all around the world. And, I'm always saying, my evil plan is working. Yes, it is. My plan has always been to create communities of wisdom and contribution in which children admire and love their parents, and the parents love and admire each other, and each one is supporting the other and growing and developing so that they have the absolute best chance possible of having successful relationships, successful businesses, healthy bodies, that they naturally, as their own self-expression, your self-expression, want to contribute and give back to the world. Do something to make the world a better place. I believe this because I believe that this is everybody's secret desire. Every one of us has a desire, hidden or not. Some are more aware of it than others, to make a difference in this world, to leave a mark on this world that makes this world a better place, to bring some, each of us have a little piece of the genius, the entire genius that is humanity, that is creation. There is a genius, masterful, brilliant mind that permeates humanity, a goodness. And you and I have a piece of that. Each of us carry a key to it. And if you don't give it, if you don't give your key, if you don't bring your light to the world won't have it. Somebody else may bring something else, but it won't be yours. The unique, encoded piece of humanity that is your unique expression of all that there is, all the genius that there is. So, yeah. Do I want to create communities in which every person brings forth their absolute best? You bet I do. And so I say, I have betted that you do. I'm betting my life, my career, my reputation, my company, my personal income, all of it. I'm on that you want to give your special gift to the world. And so that's why we create these embrace growth communities. But, after people have created communities, what keeps a community together, what keeps a community moving forward is, I'm going to say, organizations and institutions, their organized way of causing a community to continue to grow. Now, an organization is nothing more than a group of people who get together and say, we're going to accomplish this task, we're going to serve this purpose, this is our mission statement, and in order to create or cause or make happen this mission, this purpose, we're going to do certain things, and we're not going to do other things, right? In other words, we're going to distinguish this organization or institution by having its purpose live on through an organized way of thinking or being. Now, there's a danger in that, I tell you, and I've experienced it firsthand a number of times. When people reach the level of organization, if they have a background of religion, if their background of frame of reference for organizations are that they're either like a corporation, so they're all about money, so they must be corrupt. That's a lot of people's background organizational thinking. Or their background may be that, it's like a religion and all religions are corrupt, or religions are always, wrong in some way, or religions try to trick you or manipulate you or dominate you, so I don't like religions. Or organizations are educational organizations, and so it's all about charging you for your education. But if your education's really sincere, then they should give you a scholarship or give it away for free. So people have different backgrounds about organizations, and so as soon as you say, let's get organized so that this wonderful experience called Embrace Growth, or a community of love, or a heartfelt experience of growth and development may continue on into future generations, so that when we're gone, there's still something that's left that others can grow into as they get to the level where they want to take on having their community grow into something that actually makes a difference in the world. When an organization becomes about its own survival, it's already lost. Okay? And that's what's happened with religions. Religions become, in order to become and stay a religion, in order to have a temple and to have a wise man and to have groups of wise men with certain specialized clothing and ornaments and religious accoutrements about them, whether it's a Vatican or a mausoleum or a synagogue or whatever the heck it is, in order to have all that stuff, that you got to have an organization. And people have got to put money into that organization, and then that's the danger, you see. I told you there's a danger with organization, but this is a level that people have to get. Once an organization becomes about its own survival, then it's already lost. An organization whose purpose is to cause its ongoing survival is lost. An organization must survive, yes. An organization must have money in order to have telephones and offices and all those kinds of things, of course. But the purpose of an organization is to serve society. Okay? It's not to serve the organization or even just the community. An organization is created by a community in order to cause their intention, their purpose, their growth and development to reach out and touch society on a grander level. So we started off with your personal relationship with yourself, your relationship with one another, your relationship with your family, your relationship with your group, your relationship with your community, and now your relationship with organizations or institutions. And then we reach out such that your love, your growth, development, your possibility, your intentionality touches society. What society? Your society, the one you're in. Society. Okay? Whatever society, you may say, well, listen, I'm French. I only care about French society. Fine. You may say, well, I'm Persian. I only care about the Persian society. No problem. I don't have a problem with that. Cause your society to grow. Whatever you consider to be your society, that's your society, you see. I personally belong to several societies that I'm concerned about. I have lived in France, and I love France, and so I'm concerned with French society. I'm concerned with English society. I'm concerned with American society. I'm concerned with Persian society. I'm concerned with a particular group or society that lives in the Midwest back in Texas and Oklahoma, because that's a part of my roots. It's part of where I came from. So I have an eye on how is that society growing and developing. So you see, whatever you consider to be your heartfelt connection to a society, that's your society, and you should cause it to grow and develop. And if you can be a participant in an organization that actually touches that society and causes it to grow and develop, then I assert that you will experience a personal sense of purpose, self-satisfaction, self-fulfillment, self-expression. And that would not be there were there not some form of organization causing that to continue to be. Beyond society, your relationships reaches the world, humanity itself. Beyond your society, there is the world at large, there is the human spirit, there is the dignity of humanity, there is the nobleness of humanity. What, in a truest sense of the word, if your relationship with yourself, through all of those levels that I spoke of, stays true, then your personal self-respect, love, and appreciation, and dignity, and honor and integrity will reach out and touch humanity. It'll go through those various stages, but you need to be right with yourself to begin with. You see? You need to be right with yourself before you can be right with one other. And inside of this larger context, my relationship to humanity, my relationship to the world at large, can I bring honor, integrity, love, respect, nobility? Can I bring all of those values that personally animate my life? Can I bring that out to humanity itself using, as I wouldn't call them stepping stones, I would call them arenas of expression, arenas of self-expression. In other words, realms of relationship. Can I use and participate and be fulfilled in each one of these realms of relationship that radiate out from my own heart to one other, to a family, to a society and a group, to a community, through an organization that would allow me to touch the world? Can I do that? Is it something that I find is my own personal self-expression? You may want to create your own organization, and that's fine with me. I don't, please do. Create something that is your personal self-expression that reaches out and touches humanity. I assert that that is the source of happiness and fulfillment, and moreover, it's the source of health. If you want to be healthy, if you want to stay young and vibrant and alive and flexible and resourceful, then participate. Participate in something that causes the expansions of humanity, that causes the growth and development of others. I promise you, there's nothing more fulfilling, more joy-giving, so that even when something bad happens, something that you hadn't counted on, or something that you're disappointed in, sometimes people will actually unfairly criticize you or attack you and tell lies about you or attempt to harm you in some way. It happens. It's happened, that it doesn't destroy your ability to be happy, and you don't go spending hours and weeks and months and thousands of dollars in therapy trying to figure out what happened in the past that this thing has happened to you now. So you're not trying to psychoanalyze yourself and somehow come up with a solution to fixing your problem by digging down into your past. Again, I say, your past is interesting. How you got there is of passing interest. But where do you want to be? Where are you now, and where do you want to be? Those are really the only 2 points of reference that actually have any bearing, because the gap is not between where you are now and where you have been. That's a huge gap, but it's not one that you can really do much about. What actions are you going to take to change the past today? The only actions that you could take would be in the present moment anyhow. That's all you've got, is all of your power, all of your resources, all of your experience is always happening right now. It's always happening right now. Even if you sit back and fantasized about the future, you're not in the future, you're right now. You're right now fantasizing about the future. Even if you sit back and remember the past and talk about the past and in your memories of the past, the only time you're doing that is always in the present moment. There's never any other moment that you could ever possibly do that. All of your experiences is happening right now, right now, right now, right now. So it kind of behooves us, if you will. Behooves is kind of a funny word if you may not know. It would be to our benefit, if you will, to use our present moment to create something that has the possibility of expanding consciousness and awareness for ourselves, our relationships, our groups, our society, and humanity out into the future. Wouldn't that be a much better use of your time, your precious time and energy? I will also point out that you have no idea whether you'll even be alive tomorrow. So if right now is all you had, and we used to do these exercises in some of the classes that we did, write write down, if you had only 1 month to live, and let's say that money wasn't an issue and health wasn't an issue, you just knew that in 1 month you'd be gone, what would you do with your life? What would you do with your life if 1 month was all you had? And people would come up with some very interesting answers. Well, what if right now is all you have? What are you going to do with your life? So I'm going to go ahead and take a call. Hello, this is Gregory, and you are live on the air with Love Talk. Hello.
How are you today?
I'm excellent, thank you. Thank you for calling. Where are you calling from?
I'm from this area.
Great.
Coast. Yeah. First of all, your show is very interesting.
Thank you.
Enjoy it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you watching and saying so.
Yeah. Nothing. I got a question.
What is it?
If you have time, talking about the trust.
Trust?
Between the yeah.
Okay. Well, do you have a specific question about trust? Because it's a big subject.
See, because so far, 25 minutes, I watch your show. In any subject you're talking about, the trust be involved. Okay.
Yes.
For example, if you go to talk to man psychologist or
yes.
join to
yes.
organization.
Yes.
Or this is established trust, but some trust is a relationship trust.
Yes.
Is broken.
Yes.
Is it possible to rebuild it or no?
Well, yes. And when people tell me that they have a hard time trusting other people in relationship,
mm-hmm.
here's what I understand from my own experience. And that is that you may have an issue of trust with yourself. In other words, can you trust yourself to make good choices? Every time you've ever run into a person that was not trustworthy, you had a feeling about it. You had a feeling about it. You had some thoughts about it. You had a little something that maybe popped up in your back of your mind. You decided to ignore it. I know this from my own experience. Every time somebody has proven to be distrustful, I saw it in the beginning. But I'd ignored it because I liked them, because I wanted to trust them, because maybe I needed something that they had. There's a lot of reasons that you might step over something, but that makes you untrustworthy, you see, because you didn't trust yourself. Now, if you've been watching this show, you've seen that I've been talking about the first most important relationship is the one with yourself, right?
That's my question. Is come back to that level of the relationship with yourself, the first level.
Yeah, you don't trust yourself. You don't trust yourself to make good choices. I run into women all the time. She says, I keep choosing the wrong guy, and so I don't trust men anymore. No, you don't trust yourself to choose the right guy. And the reason you don't trust yourself is because you keep stepping over these warning signs that you recognize at the time, but you ignore them. That makes you untrustworthy to yourself, you see, because your subconscious mind tells you things. It's very sharp, right? Mm-hmm. The subconscious mind picks up on stuff, all kinds of little signals, or maybe the way they talked, or the way they dressed, or the way or something they said that didn't fit, or some feeling that you had that maybe they were lying, or maybe that you shouldn't count on them, but you went ahead because you wanted to, you needed to, you felt like maybe it'll work out this time. The moment you stepped over that thing, you became untrustworthy to yourself. So the question of trust is this. Trust is a gift. You either give it or you don't. Now, I have given my trust to people who were not trustworthy. I've paid the price. Or I've said, listen, there's this thing about you that I'm not sure about, and I'm going to relate to you like I'm going to keep my eye on that. I'm watching to see if I was right about that. I could be wrong, but I want you to know that there's something that I don't feel comfortable with about you. And I have an honest conversation. Listen, if they tell me, hey, get out of here or whatever, fine. It's better I'd find out now, right? So I'm going to wrap it up. Trust is a gift. You give it, you take it away. You give it, you take it away. As far as trust that has been broken, especially in a family member, I understand how painful that is, but how you rebuild trust is through communication. Eye to eye, heart to heart communication. You did this thing, it hurt. I got hurt when you did that. Now I don't trust you. Okay, and I'm going to relate to you like somebody that I cannot trust until you prove me wrong. You need to prove that I can trust you. And I'm willing to, I want to, I'd love to. However, I don't, and I can't, and I won't until you have proven me that I can trust you. and I'm watching, and I got my heart open, I'm willing, but I'm not going to trust you until I know that you can be counted on. Now, that's an honest, straight conversation of somebody who's responsible for their life and who's taking responsibility for their relationships. Okay? So I hope that helped. Thank you for asking. This is the end of the show. Thank you for joining me on Love Talk. I'll see you back here again next week.